Hello, my name is Nicole and I will be guiding you today through a series of movements designed to open, stretch, and strengthen the hips. Before we dive into this flow, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about what we will be doing today. Today, all of the moves are going to be hip focused. There's not going to be a lot of standing postures per se, but a lot of movements where we're on hands and knees and using those arms to strengthen and really opening up the feet to a lot of wide-legged poses. This flow was inspired actually by my husband. My husband works from home, my husband plays video games, so a lot of the time something I hear from my husband is, my hips hurt, my hips are tight. So this is actually a series of movements that I gave my husband and I've done with my husband before to help with his tight hips and really help open, release any tightness that comes from being in that kind of seated position for a long period of time, and then also strengthening his hip muscles, so hip flexors, inner, outer hips, on all that fun stuff. So that's what we're doing today. I would also invite you to think of this flow as an invitation. The hips are such a big integral part of the body. If we're thinking about it in a literal sense, they bear the weight of everything we carry every single day. I know we always say we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Well, the hips carry the weight of us on their shoulders, if you could call it that. And they are responsible for quite literally taking us through this life one step at a time. So it's important that we show them that bit of care and compassion. On a more metaphysical note, in a more yogi kind of note or chakra based note, the sacral chakra is around the hips as well. So if you wanted a little bit of a different intention for today's practice, confidence, power, all inner power of course comes from the central area. So we're going to build some heat in this area. We're going to have it rise up all to heart center, to head space, bring it into that physical realm, and just really enjoy today's movement practice. We'll be here for about 25 minutes, so if you have that time and are ready to flow, we will begin. So we're going to start in bound angle pose actually. So we're going to sit up nice and tall, as I will always cue to begin. And we're going to bring the soles of our feet together directly in front of the groin. Hands are going to wrap around the toes as such, and then you can lift and lengthen, staying here and letting gravity kind of do the work for just a couple deep breaths. Or if you'd like to take it a little bit deeper, what you can do is use the elbows to press into the calves, press into the legs, and as you do this, you bend down forward. So you can take whichever variation feels good to you. Do not force your body to any poses. It's not what we're here for. Just kind of make a mental note. We're going to be here for about 5 deep breaths. So if you wanted, you could even start in just this pose, 3 deep breaths, letting gravity really do the work and really open the hips. And then the last 2 breaths, you can come down and give a little press. You don't have to go super hard into this to get a really beautiful deep stretch. So we'll do 2 more deep breaths in this pose, seated nice and tall. Sending all the love to the hips. Very good. On the next inhale, what we're going to do is bring each hand to the outer edge of each knee, just like that. And we are going to flip it around, come to tabletop. So once we're in this tabletop, we are going to start with cat and cow, just to warm up the spine a little bit. The hip, the lumbar spine, and all of the spine really connects to this hip area. So we want to really make sure we're taking care of the spine as well before we dive into the hips. So we're going to drop belly, lift gaze, big breath in, and then we're going to add a little bit of a hip stretch, hip mobility exercise after we're done here. Round, contract through the spine, pressing away from the mat, tucking the chin to the chest, and then starting over, dropping belly, lifting gaze. And rounding to contract, which is all the time. It is 11:11. Make a wish. 2 more cat cows, again at whatever pace you want. If you wanted to add a little bit of motion here, you could even make some circles, pressing into one hip and then the other as you take it to each side as you do this cat cow. So whatever feels right for you. Once we're here, we're going to, on the inhale, lift left leg straight up at a 90-degree angle, okay? And we're just gonna do some hip circles. We're gonna do 3 going forward, and then 3 going back. And then once you're done, on the inhale, take that left leg, step outwards towards the top of the mat. Left hand is going to stay on the mat, right hand comes up, little twist here. 3 deep breaths. Very good. Exhale, bring that hand right back down to meet the left and press up from the mat. We're kind of at a gate pose here. I'll turn face you so you can see just a little bit better. Once we're here, we're going to bring the hands out to the sides. Left hand is going to come to left thigh. Right hand is going to come up and over as we look to the right. Little side body stretch here. Very good. Inhaling, coming back to center. And then we're going to flip. You're going to come into your tabletop, so you're going to bring that leg back in. I'm just going to turn to face the other side of the mat. Once we're done with that side, we're going to do the other. So right leg up. Very good on the inhale, and then 3 circles going forward. And then 3 going back. You can do them as fast or as slow as you'd like. And then when you're ready, step. That right foot out to the side, coming in to that beautiful little side lunge. Right hand stays on the mat, left hand comes up to the sky, holding here, 3 deep breaths. Very good. Exhale, bringing that left hand down to meet the right, pushing up on inhale from the mat. Hands come out to the side. Right hand comes down to the right thigh, left hand up and over, side body stretch, 3 more breaths. Very good. Inhaling to come back up to that center position with hands out, and exhaling to bring the hands back down to the mat, and then we inhale to bring the knees back together to come back to tabletop. For this next pose, if you have blocks available, you're more than welcome to use this at this time. I'm just going to place it behind my feet, which are currently untucked, and pressed into the mat, okay? We're going to take a bit of a camel pose variation. So we're going to keep the knees and the hips in line. We're not going to have them super wide here. We're going to come up and just reach our hands back towards that block. If you want to go full camel here, you're more than welcome. But the point of this pose is really going to be to take these hips, take the pelvis, and press it forward. Get a beautiful little stretch here. Holding here, 3 deep breaths. And again, if you have a block, great time to use it here. Trying to keep the neck in line with the spine. One more deep breath here. Very good. And then you're just going to take your hips and bring them down to the knees, or to the, not to the knees, to the heels of the feet. And come to sit on the legs, on the calves. Once we're here, we're going to come back into our tabletop. So just bringing hands to the floor, toes behind us, and we're going to take our first downward facing dog. So we're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips, imagine someone's pulling us up by a string, and we're going to glance down towards the toes as we pull the chest towards the mat, holding here, 3 deep breaths. Just breathe here, remember your intention for today's practice. If your feet don't hit the floor right at the moment, or if your heels don't reach the floor right at the moment, it's totally okay. Just keep breathing. Very good. On the inhale, we're going to leave the right foot on the mat. Left comes up towards the sky, and take a nice generous bend in that knee, letting that foot rest towards the sit bone. Holding this 3-legged dog here. 3 deep breaths. You want to add a little bit of movement, you can try to circle that hip 3 times forward, 3 times back, or you can just hold the pose. Once you're ready, you're going to, on exhale, guide that leg forward and step in between the hands. You can have your blocks as well to give your hands a little bit more lift in down dog and runner's lunge. you know, just to take a little bit of stress off the wrists, as well as to give you a little bit more lift and length in these poses. Once here, you're going to turn your back toes towards about the upper right corner of your mat. Doesn't have to be super exact. We're really just trying to open and lengthen through that inner hip on the right. Once you're here, we're going to inhale, push up. Open our hands out to our sides. Left hand is in front of us, right hand is in the back. Coming into our beautiful warrior two, our knees stacked over our ankle. And our pelvis is facing the long edge of the right side of the mat. We're going to hold here for 3 deep breaths, and if you find that holding the arms out is a little bit difficult on the shoulders, you're more than welcome to come to prayer or come to hands on the hips, whichever variation feels best for you. Very good. From here, you're going to inhale, straighten that front leg, and bring the hands up to the sky. And as the hands come up, you're going to turn that left foot forward to face the long edge of the right side of the mat. Once here, reaching those fingers all the way up, getting a nice big full body stretch here. You're going to exhale nice and slow, hinging at the hips, bringing the hands down to the mat. So we're going to start in just a wide-legged fold forward. So you can bend at the elbows to really let the head hang here. That's really what we want. You can shake the head, no, just from side to side. Giving ourselves a little bit of hip mobility here, we're going to, on exhale, walk the hands over to the right, and as you do so, bend into that right knee, bringing your back up, and this left foot can flex towards the head. Using the hands to balance ourselves here, letting ourselves get a nice deep stretch in this back body of the leg coming up to the hip and behind the knee. And then as you inhale next, you're just going to press up, walk your hands back to the middle, and switch sides. So walking the hands to the left as you lower that sit bone down to the ground, maybe not fully, and that's fine. Right foot flexes towards the head, holding. Using our hands again to press into the mat, you can grab your blocks. Trying to keep a nice straight spine up at the top, not rounding and falling into the chest. And then walking the hands up to come back to this forward fold. Very good. And now we're just going to take some half lunge pulses. So we're going to bend into that right leg, keeping the hands exactly where they are on the exhale, inhaling to come up. Good. Exhale to the left, just a little baby bend here. Inhale, come up. Good. We're going to do 2 more on each side. Exhaling to the right. Inhaling to come up. Good. Exhaling to the left. Inhaling to come up. Last one. Exhale to the right. This time we're going to hold here 2 deep breaths. Very good. Inhale up. Exhale to the left. 2 deep breaths. Very good. Inhale to come up. Once we're fully back up into this wide-legged forward fold, we're going to walk the hands towards the top of the mat, turning our left foot to face forward and using our hands to frame that left foot. Back toes also face forward, bringing that right heel off the mat and coming back into our runner's lunge. Once we're here, we're going to lower the back right knee down onto the floor. Right hand stays, left hand comes up. We do a little twist here. 3 breaths. Good, just one more. Amazing. When we exhale, we're going to bring that left hand on the inner part of the left foot. So now the right and left hand are both on the right side of the left foot. Once you're here, you can stay here. This is your lizard pose, or if you want to take a harder variation, you can come onto hands and knees and tuck the back leg, bring it up, or even keep it down and on the floor. Whichever variation you're doing, you can hold 3 deep breaths. Another point is you can also come onto blocks here. If you want a little bit more support, hands come under the blocks, gives yourself a little bit more height. which is always a plus. Once you're done, we're just going to take that left hand, bring it back to frame that left foot. Right leg is going to tuck, return back to runner's lunge, and we're going to exhale, bring it back to our downward facing dog. And then gently on inhale, knees come to the mat, big toes touch. Exhale, send it back. Come into a wild child's pose. So creating a nice space here between the hips, holding 3 deep breaths. Coming back to the intention, seeing how the hips are feeling today now that we've taken a little bit of time to explore one side of the body and one side of the hips. Just taking again that moment to check in with yourself and see how you felt in those poses and being totally honest with yourself. Do you feel a little bit looser now on one side than the other? Do a little comparison to now versus how you felt when you started even. And when you're ready, we're going to bring those hands out, shift the body forward, come to tabletop, and then tuck back toes, lift the hips, return to our downward facing dog. We're going to do the same thing on the right hand side. So left foot stays on the mat, right foot comes up on inhale, bend into that knee, let that foot try to reach towards that sit bone, holding here 3 deep breaths, and again, option to circle that knee if you want to get a little bit more of a stretch, get a little bit more mobility work in. One more. Very good. And when the exhale comes, gently guide that knee forward and step. If you had blocks last time on this side, I'll invite you to do whatever you did last time on this side, okay? Once we're in this runner's lunge, turning back toes. So those toes are facing about the left corner of the mat, about, again, just trying to get that beautiful stretch in this left side. And when you're ready, inhaling to push up. Right hand comes forward, left hand comes behind towards the bottom of the mat. Warrior 2, right knee over that ankle. Holding here 3 deep breaths. Don't forget to, if you want to challenge yourself, try to widen this stance just a little bit, really feeling that pull and that stretch here. Very good. Inhaling, straightening that front leg, hands are coming up, turning this right foot to face the left long edge of the mat, and exhaling to bring the hands down to the center, wide-legged forward fold. Again, see if you can even come a little bit deeper this time. Since we've already taken it, maybe you can place your forearms on the ground, maybe your head can come towards your hands. And maybe it doesn't, and that's okay. Just play with it a little bit. See if you're starting to feel a little bit more open. And if you're not, that's totally okay. We're still gonna do a lot. From that wide-legged forward fold, we're just gonna take those really nice deep lunges to start. So we're gonna walk the hands over to the right as we bend into this right leg, sending the sit bone down towards the bottom of the mat. You can hover here, you don't have to sit, but you're more than welcome to sit. Left toes are flexed towards the head. We're going to hold here as this right arm pushes into this right leg, pushing that knee out towards the side just a little bit. One big breath here. Sitting up nice and tall. And then as you inhale, you're going to bring your sit bone back using the hands, walking them towards the center, and switching sides. On the exhale, flexing those right toes now towards the head. One deep breath. Very good. Inhaling, pressing up, coming back to center. We're going to go do those little lunges now. So we're going to, on exhale, bend into the right knee, hold one deep breath. Very good. Inhale back to center. And exhale to the left side, bending into that left leg, one deep breath. Good. 2 more times, pressing away from the mat with the upper body towards the right. We bend on exhale, big breath. Good. Inhale up. Exhale to the left. Very good. Inhale up. Exhale to the right. Last time, we're holding 2 deep breaths. Inhale, come back up. Exhale to the left, holding 2 deep breaths. Very good. Coming back to center on that inhale, walking the hands as you turn the right foot to face the top of the mat. You're going to bring your hands to frame this right foot, coming into our runner's lunge once more. Okay? We're going to, from here, lower down this left leg. Left hand stays on the mat, right hand comes up. A little twist here, 3 deep breaths. If you would like, you can also glance up towards that right hand if you are able. 1 more breath. And as we exhale, we're going to bring that right hand towards the inside of that right foot. Once we're here, coming into that lizard pose, looking straight ahead past the top of the mat. And if you want to challenge yourself a little bit here in this pose, you can try to bring the forearms down onto the mat as well. Not letting that knee push outwards to the side too much, keeping it nice and in line with that spine, or with that knee to ankle. Nice straight line. Whatever you did on the last side, doing here. 2 more breaths. Very good. Pressing up if you were down, you're going to take that right hand, frame that right knee, tuck back toes, lift that back leg, exhale, step it back to our downward facing dog. And then when you're ready, knees come to the mat. Big toes touch. Exhale, send those hips back. Reach forward, wild child's pose. You got 6 deep breaths here. Now that we've done both sides of the hips, think back to the beginning of the practice, how those hips, maybe even knees, felt when you first started. Do you feel a little bit more loose now? Do you feel a little bit more open now? And just acknowledge yourself also for showing up for today's practice and, saying, yeah, my hips are a little tight. Think to why that is. Maybe we can add a little bit more movement to our everyday. I know for me personally, when I sit down for too long at work, I will always try at least once an hour to just get up, do like a minute or 2 of just a little bit of stretching before I sit back down, a little movement, a walk, maybe to get some water, go to the bathroom. So just trying to keep myself mobile during those long days when you're really sitting for a long period of time. Last deep breath here. And then from here, you're going to reach up through the fingers, walk them into the pelvis, and then right foot steps out toward the right edge of the mat. Left foot comes to follow, and we come into our yogi squat, our garland pose. If this is a little bit difficult for you in terms of balancing and keeping that hover, you can just slide a block directly under the sit bone. Hands come to prayer, and we use the elbows to press those hips open, holding here. 4, 3 to 4 deep breaths. Even if you'd like to bring hands down to the floor, still using those hands to press into the legs. 1 more deep breath. Very good. Right hand is going to stay on the outside. We're going to bring it past that right foot fully onto the floor if we can, or you can grab a block, place it under. Left hand is going to swoop up, going over to that side, and we're going to pull the chest over to the left side. You're going to feel a really nice deep stretch in that outer right hip. 3 deep breaths. Very good. You can bring that hand, left hand down to the other side, come back to center, and just switch. This time really giving a nice deep stretch to that left side. 3 breaths here. Very good. Bringing it back down with the exhale to that neutral position. From here, we're going to place our hands directly in front of us. You can remove the block at this time and just try to lower yourself onto the mat. It doesn't have to be perfect. Bringing the legs out in front of you, we're going to bring the feet onto the mat, keeping a nice little bit of a bend with the legs. we're going to take our right foot, and we're going to bring our ankle over our left knee. So you can lower down the leg a little bit and then bring it back up if you'd like to. Hands are pointed towards the bottom of the mat, flush on the floor. You're going to grab a block. And once we have our right ankle on our left knee, we're going to bring that as close as we can to our chest. You're going to feel a little bit of a stretch in that glute almost, and with that outer edge of the hip, you're going to flex those toes, and you're just going to move back and forth for 4 deep breaths. Through the hips, really trying to keep the torso straight. The torso is not moving. We're really trying to let all the motion come from those hips. Very good. And from here, we're just going to lower down the left leg, undo the twist, tap out the thighs a little bit, and switch sides. So this time left ankle to right knee. Bring that right foot up once you're ready, and move it back and forth, bringing it as close to you. You can push your chest just a little bit forward, pushing that upper back closer to that leg. That will deepen the stretch. 3 breaths here. Good. We have 2 more poses that we're going to take today. So lower that right leg, undo the stretch, tap out the thighs, and bring yourself to lay down fully. You can keep your feet on the mat as you do this, bringing the knees to point up towards the ceiling. To start, we're going to kick our feet off the ground with our knees pointed towards our chest, and with the hands, reach to grab either our feet, our ankles, our pants, whatever we can grab here. I like to crack my toes here. It's a sign of release. You can do the same if you'd like. And once you have your feet, pants, or calves or ankles in your hands, you're just going to pull the knees into the armpits, coming into our happy baby. And we're going to hold here for 4 deep breaths, really feeling that really beautiful deep hip stretch in those hip flexors. Coming back to our intention for today. If you'd like to play a little bit here, if you're looking for a little bit more of a fun movement or an interesting movement, a movement you haven't tried before, try this. So you can, with your left hand, bring your left leg to bend. So bring that sit bone in towards your pelvis. Try to extend the right leg out into the side. That's going to give you more of a leg stretch than it is a hip stretch, but you can always pull this left leg open just a little bit as you do it, or trying to hold that balance. And then switch sides. I know for me, my left side's a little bit tighter than my right. And then coming back to center. And then exhaling to plop the feet onto the mat, bringing the knees to touch, feet to touch. And then on the inhale, letting the legs fall apart to either side of the mat to come into now a reclined butterfly. You can always put blocks under the knees to give yourself a little bit of support if this is a little bit too much for you. Just making sure that the back is nice and firmly pressed into the mat. You can bring hands onto the diaphragm if you'd like, one on top of the other or one above, one below. You can also bring hands down towards either side of the hip, palms facing the mat, or palms facing up if you'd like to be open to receiving. Whichever variation you take, we're going to hold here 5 deep breaths. As we start to wind down the body, invite in that cooling breath, even bringing the breath back to its normal rhythm, and just being a witness to it rather than trying to influence it. Very good. 2 more breaths. When you inhale next, you're going to use your hands to bring the legs to close. And you have the option to exhale and extend the legs one after the other down towards the bottom of the mat, hands facing the ceiling, open to receiving in our corpse pose. Or variation here to bring the feet to the width of the mat, let the knees fall into each other, hands again open to receiving or resting on the diaphragm. Or if you have a bolster, you're more than welcome to just roll over to one side and bring the bolster under your head, in between your legs, whatever way that you'd like to take your Shavasana is totally perfect. And as you get rested down into your Shavasana, I'll ask that you now close your eyes if they're not closed already. And then take a nice, deep, calming breath in through the body. A nice, deep exhale through the mouth, which is slightly parted open. Good. Opening the hands, making sure we're not making fists with the hands as we are open to receiving. We're not closing ourselves off to any new energies or any new opportunities. Making sure that the shoulders are not shrugged up and crunched up towards the ears, but rather relaxed and down in proper position. Making sure we're not scrunching the toes, they're also released, and we feel at peace here. As you're in the Shavasana, I'll invite you to check back into how you felt when you started this practice. How did you feel once you got on your mat today? What were the thoughts that were coming into your head? You know, were there any stories that you were telling yourself? Was there a special reason you were flowing today? How did your body feel? Just doing a quick little check-in of the physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual bodies, okay? So doing a quick check-in of all those, seeing how you felt then versus how you feel now without judgment, just gratitude. So we'll take a couple minutes to just feel the effects of our practice, and I will let you know when it is time to come up. Gently begin to bring consciousness back to the body by wiggling fingers and toes, gently pulling yourself out of that more meditative state into the physical realm. You can gently blink the eyes open once or twice, readjust the lighting. You can gently smile if you'd like, taking a nice deep breath in through the nose and exhaling it out through the mouth. And as you're ready, you can roll over to one side. If you're not already, push yourself up to any seated position that is comfortable, and we will end today's practice. So today, to end, we are going to inhale and lift those hands up overhead, and in between our hands, holding everything that we've created for ourselves, every opening that we've created, every bit of strength that we've given ourselves, every bit of good stress that we've invited towards the body, all with the end goal of making ourselves stronger. And we'll close our hands as we imagine all of that in between them. And as we exhale, bringing it all down to our heart center. And as we bow forward, knowing it never leaves. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. It was a pleasure flowing with you, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.